Hello. Hello. Welcome to Jarviskjir Here Be Heroes Week 15, and as I personally consider it, essentially the start of Season 2, even though we haven't got separate seasons in this one. This is the start of a new beginning. How's everybody doing?
Melting.
Good. Excellent.
That's all we need.
Looking for revenge.
Oh, yes.
Can we
Very
point out
hyped.
that what we've been talking about is how all four of us chose the same GIF for our tweets without colluding?
looking at
Without
each other.
colluding.
Yeah, without planning.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But also, as you're saying, there's really no good revenge-related GIFs,
No.
like at all.
Well, like,
We were very limited.
type of revenge. It has the Taken guy saying, "I will have my revenge." You
The
have to pick
Taken
it.
guy, Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
Dash.
But
The guy from that really popular movie
he's doing the stare that he does in every Taken
That's
movie
true.
when he's talking about it. Like, that's why I say that.
Oh,
Liam
he's in
Neeson-
like
other things
Taken
Liam
mode.
Neeson.
You're right.
Yeah. He's fully Taken mode,
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you mean the guy from Love,
which is really
actually?
funny because I.
That who we're talking about?
I'm fairly sure that GIF is actually him in an ad parodying the Taken guy. Which is
I'm
the
pretty
best
sure.
part.
I'm pretty sure
Really?
you're.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's. Pretty sure that's what's going on.
Ollie, does your sweater say "Have a meowy Christmas"?
It says it's in reverse, but it says have him. It's got a cat. It says
It's not
have
reverse
a
for us.
meowy
Not in
Xmas.
reverse for us.
Because I didn't
Yeah.
see the bottom of it. I just saw the
It's on.
cat,
It's
and
in
I was
reverse for
like,
chat.
What is on that shirt?
It
And I
also
was like-
jangles. So if I do dramatic poses, I'm gonna make my own Foley effects. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah, also, this is a mum bought sweater. She bought it specifically because she wanted me to wear it to a stream.
Oh, there
Here
you
you go, mum.
Your intro
Merry
card has
Christmas.
been ruined, Ollie. And you didn't notice.
All right. If there's nothing else, shall we begin? All right. Well, we begin 1 month after Slate Cove was destroyed. The fanatic, seemingly elemental worshipping monks, following a prophet named Shireen, activated the Ring of Haldoon, which you knew was a ruin. You didn't know it was true purpose that's set around the town that you live in and have been based off for this whole adventure. Activating the ring caused it to lift, and with it, just destroy the town. Being true heroes, your focus went from trying to stop it to trying to save everyone, and then trekking the entirety of the survivors, which is not everyone, to Lendir, a town that you helped quite a while ago. There were a lot of losses during this whole thing, one of them being Tobias's younger brother. You spent a month processing and trying to work out what to do, because the gate that was activated requires 4 gate stones. And you know that the souls of Shireen, the monks, are going to look for the other 3. And each one of them attunes to one of the elements in some way. The Stone of Earth is already in the gate. And so, for a month, all of you were doing various things to either prepare physically or mentally for this, or trying to research, which involved many other things. But let's first describe what's been happening to the refugees in the town. Because Lendir was in a bit of a state of disarray. It was functioning perfectly well and has room for the refugees, but it was taken over by a crime lord that you removed, executed, and is now back in control of Clan Grogge, who are all Northmen. So, having a bunch of Northmen refugees, you help each other. You live in such a cold, inhospitable environment. You help each other in moments of dire need. Any aggression in the part out of the way. Like, we just need to help each other. The almost slum-like area at the base of the hill, known as Red Town, has been taken apart, and over this month that passed, which sets you well into the autumn months, has been starting to be rebuilt into more quick to make housing, but better quality than the slums that were still there because there's a lot of people. Food is more or less fine, but it's mostly people are shaken. It's going to be a rough winter with so many people in this town, but your focuses are slightly elsewhere. Now, this is something that I thought that you might do. The two Northmen of you, Eleanor and Tobias, an area near Lendir is actually known as a bit of a pilgrimage to those who are faithful. Beside the hill are an area of ice flats, ravines, and basically glaciers that are slowly moving frozen ice rivers that go down the side of a mountain that are possible to climb, but very hard. There's huge ravines that crack down, and people just get lost down there. And during this month, while after Eleanor made sure that all the children who were upheaved during this destruction, because that's kind of her thing, were okay. I imagine Eleanor would have been the first to start making that pilgrimage, and then Tobias would have joined her to the top of this. It's not necessarily a huge mountain, but to the top of this glacier. When you get up there, and it's by no means an easy task, but it's one of those things you can tell that you're getting stronger. Things that might have been challenging before are less so, and any beasts that trouble you along the way, because a pilgrimage for Vikings is not just can you climb, it's can you fight while you're climbing. It's trivial. There's really no problems, and Eleanor's climbing this fucking mountain in full metal armor. Like, this is an incredible accomplishment. At least Tobias is, like, not completely weighed down, although he has a lot of weapons. But when you get to the top, you feel a feeling of clarity. You feel a connection, particularly you, Eleanor, when you're up there, and there's nothing impeding the cold winds. And you can see out around you. You can even see your homeland of Oakenfur off in the distance as far as the horizon goes. And you swear, Tobias can, because he's got much better eyes. You can actually see the ring where Slate Cove should have been once you would have taken this trek if you took it a month ago. But for the rest of you, and other things you would have done during the month, well, why don't you tell me? Now, to give you some ideas of what I imagined you would have been doing, and I think what you discussed at the end of last week as well, Barut is mostly going to be researching. Now, where is he going to research in a town like this? Well, there's only one person who reads books in this whole town, because the Northmen don't respect books. That's not the way they do it. The one person who has a small library is the woman by the name of Smartmantle, who is in some way a small mage, and maybe has a little bit of a romantic connection with Virik. So while those two are on a trek, and more often would probably stay in the orphanage that Eleanor funds, Virik and Barut, but feel free to interrupt me, would have been staying with Smartmantle in her little 2-story house in the busy part of town. Researching, and Virik probably trying to help researching, and this is a question I asked you last session, Virik.
Yes.
How has your relationship been with Smartmantle, if there has been one, staying with her?
I don't think Virik would want to pursue a relationship, considering the way Smartmantle is.
What does that mean?
Well,
What does that mean?
I wonder, with the whole names make it worse thing, it's boring when they give me names thing and stuff like that. But no, I think, like, yeah, I don't think he'd want to. I mean, it's one of those things where he probably wouldn't not do things, but he probably would want to pursue a relationship.
Maybe a casual little, Barut's like, oh, I need to go upstairs and get a book, and you see them kissing and stuff like that. They're probably things, but not a full relationship. I can understand that, a modern,
And
You think
modern
Brewer's
drow.
paying enough attention
Barut is just
to them?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well,
gets a
looking
book
for
from
books.
behind them.
Yeah, he would get a book and move on.
Sorry, pardon me. Just trying to reach past you here.
And he would also definitely be honing and trying to remember back. He'd be doing the ritual, trying to remember back when he was being trained as a monk, to try and get more of those skills. Now that he's seen people in action that put these skills to proper use, that he wants to be able to counter that, wants to fight that, wants to know how they'll move, that sort of thing. So he'd definitely be doing more of those rituals to go back into his memories to relive the training and sort of get better at that.
Obviously, be helping with that as much as
Exactly.
possible, and
this is referring to something that happened several weeks ago in the show where you figured out a ritual to do with the Elven Goddess of Dreams that allows you to properly relive your dreams. Considering that's something you're focusing on doing, would there be more prayer to that goddess in this whole process?
Probably for Virik, yeah.
Cool. Just check.
little bit from Barut, but he's very much reciting the words. He's not
Barut is the kind of person who understands all the gods and respects them all. Whereas Virik, I imagine, hey, if he's doing this as much as he possibly can, there'd be a lot of, and when it works, it'd be maybe a little prayer, stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm not making you take points in cleric yet. Just
We'll get there. Barut will teach you.
just check. Cool. And Barut, you've been researching, and also
I've been researching, and a couple of other
magic.
things. And when Tobias was not on that pilgrimage,
it wouldn't have taken a whole month. So
no, but you got some new tattoos, right?
Yes, that was one of the things we covered, like towards the end of the last session.
And Barut would have been asking you about that, and would have been asking about that process and what they mean, and more in detail about that. And he would have actually, eventually, after you explained that to him, he would have gotten one of his own, probably. But
Well, yeah, like if you ask Tobias with the tattoos, he's going to take the time to explain to you, like, the entire meaning of all the ones, because they kind of start like at the base of his neck, like come up the side of his head, and it's very much like, oh, this was like when I hunted a thing for the first time, and like this was like when I like learned to use a sword, and like it just kind of starts with like stuff you learn to do as a kid, and kind of goes into more like feats, and there's also things about like family, like this is a clan I belong to, these are like my parents, all leading up, of course, to the ones that are currently now stretching down onto his face as an oath of vengeance / a mournful display.
yeah, it's one of those things other Northmen, since having that tattoo, will occasionally just apologize to you because they know what it means, and
especially
considering
it's like fresh, like there would probably still be like
fresh,
kind of
it's
blood around the
red,
edge.
and filled with in a town filled with refugees, and the people who already lived here are completely.
I'm sure I'm not
understand
the
what
only one who's gotten tattoos recently, considering what's happened. Yeah, if you mentioned wanting to get a tattoo, I will absolutely. Like, we've traveled together for long enough.
Yeah.
You know the people here. You've been good to them. You're much more than just a casual acquaintance. They would be happy, I'm sure, to.
And the
you.
people who would probably do the tattoo would be the representatives of like your clan, Tobias, which would be your remaining family. So they know Barut, so they would actually be okay with it as well. So I think you discussed what the meaning of the tattoo you were going to get was as well.
Yeah. You want to take that one? You should take that
There's
one.
been a little off-stream planning.
I know, but I guess the general consensus of it was like, there's kind of one that they would give to outsiders, which would be like trusted friend, like someone who is kind of part of the not a clan, but like this person we recognize they have done good by us, and it's more than a friend. But what I was saying was, assuming that our elders and whatnot are okay with it, I would propose to them like the Barut is much more than just a trusted friend. Barut is a brother in battle. Like he deserves then basically the next step up, which I imagine would be something similar for an outsider, but an outsider who has almost become one of the people here, you know?
Yeah,
like
it's
an
actually
honorary membership in a
it's pretty much an honorary, like the kind of thing that when it's seen, people know you're part of the clan. It's one of the things when it's shown to you, because they don't just tattoo it onto you immediately. Although because you're foreign, they show you. Otherwise, it would just be done, right?
Yeah.
You've actually seen it before on some of the royal guard of the Baroness and things like that. People who have come from clearly not around here. What it looks like and where it is entirely up to you, but all these Northman tattoos are usually in a sort of pale blue or occasionally a white. Probably a white because of your skin being so dark.
Yeah. And if they were willing, I would actually ask as well if they would be willing to tattoo the stag head on my chest as well.
Considering all that's gone on, right? It's one of those things where you, as a party, to slightly digress or change topic, you as a party not only are known to be Greyfists and travelers and helpers of the community when you're in Slate Cove and this town, but a lot of them either saw you trying to climb up on the ring as it was destroying the town and fight the people who did this, or were directly like pulled from the wreckage of their houses in the aftermath. And something to bear in mind, a lot of Virik didn't have a mask on during any of that.
Yep.
And actually, I think it was. I didn't know if you meant it like this, but did you leave the mask behind, or did you just not have it on?
No, I think he would have picked it up. Once the immediate danger was over and they were having that moment of like, wait, he would have gone back and realized, oh, I need that.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, in the moment he completely forgot about it.
Still a slight attachment to
There, exactly.
Well,
he's had it for like years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another reason why he's got an attachment to the mask, but yeah.
But so you are quite literally heroes to these people. Especially considering Slate Cove wasn't necessarily a paragon of, a big military that kept things away. But it did house the base of the Greyfists. And with that being destroyed, there's a little bit of chaos in the areas of the north where it's easier to travel. There are hobgoblin mercenary bands that occasionally attack the town, which might be connected to the fact that all the hobgoblins that were living in the slums were systematically eradicated. But you've been helping defend the town as well with the various other people who are still here. So you are heroes to these people. You say you want this stag's head, and you say you probably would even say it's related to your faith. I would
explain the meaning, and I'd also explain that the reason why the faith became so important to me was because I lost my brother in arms. And this stag head was a representation of that. And like, these people are all now part of me as well. I want the North to be a part of me. And in that way, the tattoo, though it is of the stag head, which is a representation for me, it is done in the North style.
Exactly.
And that has become equally important.
It's one of those things where Northmen aren't exactly open to other religions, but usually when other people come here with their religion, they're usually a little preachy. But because your religion also is very spiritual, they completely understand, and you'd have this tattooed. You'd also have your brother in arms tattoo wherever you want to have it, whether it's very visible on your face or hands or something, as most of them has it, or a little bit away is up to you. Hands. Cool.
Right hand specifically.
Now that's actually very important, because something else that happens as the month goes on is that you gain a certain little spell in your prayer, because you have allies now across the continent. Well, maybe not that far. Across the north. And you need ways to send messages to. So you may have learnt a little way to communicate across long distances, and have been talking to Von Bast, your maybe a dragon collector in Bastillion, who basically left off saying, "Hey, I'm going to look for the other gatestones. He has people traveling the world looking for relics, because that's what he hoards, and going into the research of it. And in the process, you asked for something. And he is a man that is quite almost literally made of money. You've been inside his gold hoard, but is like, I can't do everything for you. But he does have something delivered from Bastillion, so it costs a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Your suit of armor. Brute, your new suit of armor is made...
And Virix.
And
stuff.
Virix, less
Which was a
important
tag
stuff.
along, but like,
It's
you know.
like
Yeah.
your armor's like all set up nicely, and it's like, oh, here's you.
Yeah.
Here's your stuff.
Your new armor is made of dark steel. It is a dark charcoal grey, which accents brilliantly with the whitish silvery highlights, concluding your stag head, where it sits in the middle, and where it emblazons, and where the stag head sits in the middle of the chest. Almost, doesn't look like antlers, but it's designed to almost envision antlers. The pauldrons come up off the sides, and the hands are actually unarmored for your spell casting, so your tattoo is proudly displayed.
Love it.
Because you have half plate, so it also comes with armored, padded leathers and fabrics that come down almost like a preacher's robe in those whites and things. It's this very almost chest set, sort of very dark grey and whites, and it looks like very much a not an angry god, but a vengeful god's avatar. You know, it's one of those things. It's not what you intended, but when it arrives, you probably feel that resonating because Barut, whether he shows it or not, as much as the others, is angry.
He's
And-
not showing it, but it's there. And these guys would know, but the town folk would not. There's no way.
The townfolk will be like, he's so calm considering everything and helping everyone and all those things. He's
just seething inside, just actual rage.
cool. Awesome. So there's your new armor. You've been casting spells, and as I said at the last week, after a month has passed, you get a message. I said it was a letter, but now you just have sending. Yeah. You cast it pretty much every day, saying that the Stone of Air was last seen on the island of Estana. You open up your maps, and you're like, well, where the hell's that? Fuck. It's all the way down south off to the west coast of the continent. More south than you've ever been, more west than you've ever been, because it's off the fucking... It's in the sea. And with that, on the morning where you receive these messages, because you pretty much receive them every morning if you're going to get one, you've got a system. What do you do, Baru?
Well, as far as my research goes, have I learned anything new about that area at all?
What area, Estana?
Estana, like
It wouldn't have come up.
wouldn't have come up.
No, because
That's
what
I
you would have been researching, although feel free to correct me, was essentially be like elemental theory, right? Because
Yeah,
now
as
you know
well
that's
as-
what you're dealing with.
as well as histories to do with the elementals, and especially digging into the draconic history as well, given the experience that I had. So just as much information about that stuff as I
The things you actually get on those are more often fables, very old texts about what was rumored to happen. When it comes to elemental history, all it is that some people, some faiths refer to there being a time before dragons, where.
Right.
But there's really very, very little detail that you get from the collection of books here. But also the books that are here are, you know, the collections of fables and things like
Right.
that. You don't have a grand library in your possession, and you wish you
No.
did. But
one of these days I need to find a way to just transport a billion books all at once on my back without it being heavy.
So you mean you need an
you just need
iPhone?
an iPad?
Yeah, I need that, but like a scroll that I unroll and just select which.
Isolate.
That actually definitely exists in Bastilian.
I just should have got it while I was there, but I didn't even think
You
about
couldn't afford it, honey.
it. No, of course not. It's like billions of gold.
I'm
But
sure Eric could afford one.
Ford.
Don't encourage the thieving.
is there any connection between, reading through the fables, reading through the histories, reading through the elemental theory, is there any commonalities, common features that I would have delved into?
The thing that is very relevant is that the elemental powers of the universe, at least the universe that Jarviskjir is a part of, are cruxed around the four, which is earth, wind, fire, and water. Where those, and you often see a wheel of it, but where those meet, they combine, creating things like ice and what was referred to as like dust and things like that. And then there's even some of the things that are also considered elemental, although they're kind of different. Some people consider oozes to be elemental, stuff like that. But yeah, that would be the real thing that's like, this is so common, you would consider it to be just fact, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Then apart from that, because the only other thing that I'm going to want to look into now is what the hell is going on elemental-wise in Estana that this would be there, or, you know, why would...
Well, it's one of those things. Would you spend more time researching after getting the letter, or would you immediately start going?
I would send a message to someone else to gather the troops, as it were. Like if Virik is, you know,
Virik could be around and you could go over there.
Oh yeah, fun time there. You know, I'll interrupt whatever they're doing.
Now the question is, where are you gathering the troops? Because I didn't mention this. Kindle and the other Grey Fists have set up a little bit of a base in the House of Smokeglass because she thought that was relevant. So if you wanted their thoughts, considering Kindle, you know for at least Kindle and Fireflies have traveled the world, although Fireflies isn't all there. You could ask. Of course, Hull Giant never came back.
Still
missing in action.
Like, where the hell is this guy? I'm definitely at one point gonna go to Kindle and just be like,
well, she wouldn't know. But if you want to basically say, hey, we're gonna meet the troops there, that would be what I'd imagine you would have done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Get all the information you can. Cool. So you're like, I get the troops. I'm gonna go through book quickly. Give me a investigation check. What do you want, Virik?
I would have left the vial of the monk lady blood. I don't know her name. So the monk lady blood.
Yes.
So she can try and figure out a way to track her.
You do know her name. Just like as a party. I was trying to work out if you as a party know her name. You do know her name because it is in Smoke's ledger.
That's right, yes.
I don't know if I told you at the time, though. The names are Shireen Val Carter and Carl Brazenstorm. The elvish mage is named Carl Brazenstorm.
Okay. Right. Well, I would leave the vial of her blood with Smart Mantle just so she can try and figure out a way to track her more. Like, Virik would probably have heard of the ability to, track...
Smart Mantle's magical powers are strange. And in the time you've actually been here with her in her shop, she has a lot of what... If you were a player with this, it would be some weird homebrew class where you were, only cast rituals that take a couple of days to do. So that kind of magic is totally within her. It's like, oh, can you do this? It's like, maybe. Like, oh, you're gonna be more useful? I'm like, no, that's less fun, you know. But yeah, she would definitely work on that for you, you know, between blessing cattle and stuff. But yes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, sorry, go ahead.
Brute, you don't find any mention of Estana at all in any of these books.
I'm not surprised. You know, it just wasn't coming up.
No. Well, it's one of those things, I often give you wisdom checks for doing book stuff, but you're just like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere in an hour, can I get through this whole library? Like,
yeah.
No.
To be fair, I would have been using lore keeping.
Which gives you a big...
Yeah,
not an 8.
But, an 8 is just not good enough.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But then what you do know about Estana, because you have traveled the world, is that it is the city of gnomes. Yes. Gnomes referred to there being other... There apparently were more gnomish communities. Now there's really just Estana. That's what they think, anyway. At least the ones you've met.
Yeah, I just don't know anything else about it is the problem.
Cool.
We'll get there, though. We'll figure it out.
At some point during this month, I had to figure out who you're gesturing to.
I know. I actually realized that when I was doing it. Like, here, on my screen, I'm actually pointing at Aaron.
Right. But yeah. At some point during this month, I would like to go back to Slate Cove because what I'm looking for specifically is the dagger that I gave to my no longer living brother,
So,
which is in the house, presumably.
would you have done this just at the start of the month or nearer to the end?
I mean, we kind of glossed over it, but ideally I would have gone and done this like as we were packing everyone up and leaving.
In which case, you would have done it when you were leaving.
That would have made the most sense.
Yeah. No, in which case you would have already... It would have been one of those things you made sure everyone was safe during the night.
Yeah,
then everyone rested, and probably instead of resting, you went and got the knife.
Definitely.
Cool.
Okay. I just, before we got too far ahead, wanted to make sure. Okay, that's my thing.
Cool. So, Virik goes around the town knowing pretty much where everyone's going to be. Tobias is probably working with the local hunters, and Eleanor is at her orphanage, and gathers you at the House of Smoke Glass, which looks the same from the outside, but is not the same. It's a bit. The House of Smoke Glass was a big town, right? You don't hear music coming from it. You don't smell food. It's kind of like an inert tavern now. When you come in, Zotar, the old caretaker of the Greyfist's castle, is just sitting there at like the first table in front of the door with a crossbow, where he is currently strapping crossbow bolts to the side of it, just like how you might put shells on the side of a shotgun. And he just kind of, you open the door, because it's not locked or anything, he just looks at you and is like, yeah, alright. And doesn't really question it. Where up on the... Actually, it wouldn't be up on the second level. It'd be near the back, because they haven't gone up near the second level yet, really, aside from paperwork and storing things. That's where some of the stuff that Kindley did manage to bring has been put up. Kindley is kind of at the back of the big open chamber, with fireflies kind of having taken over the kitchen of this tavern to be a bit of an alchemy lab, but not really the same way. I imagine a lot of what Tobias has been doing has been trying to help him find alchemical reagents. But yeah, when you all gather there, Kindley would get up and come up to you. She's looking... Kindley is a high elf. They're very prim and proper and well-dressed. She is, since this whole month has gone on, not looking her best because she had to leave very hurriedly. She doesn't have a wardrobe of outfits. Elves in human clothing always looks a little bit strange. And she's a powerful wizard as well, so like, she's just not looking so great. And Barut might know because she's getting older, and something very bad just happened to her. If she's dwelling on that, or it happened around her even, and she didn't stop it, she might be starting to fade. Is something that would definitely be in the back of your mind. She would come up to you as you come in, and particularly, she would check that you're all okay. I mean, it's not that you haven't talking or anything, but they've been working on stuff. And she has on her table, she pushed together most of the tables, a big scroll of names and things and addresses and places. But she would come up to Brute and kind of touch your face and be like, "Did you hear word of where the next gatestone is?"
Estana.
That is not the most convenient place for it to be.
No, certainly not. But, well, it is not the worst thing in the world.
She goes back over to the table. Barut, I imagine, would know this because you would have helped. She is trying to find out... all the records in the Greyfist Castle were destroyed. Not all of Slate Cove was destroyed because of the way the ring rotated. But Chasmguard very much was. So all the records of Greyfists, living and dead, and where they are, were destroyed. And she's trying her best to figure out where people are, if they still are. But you know, Barut, that despite people thinking so, there's actually not that many Greyfists. There's not many of you all out and about. And she actually briefly looks over it while she... clearly looking in like the area where she says their last known location, if anyone is in Estana, and it's all in Elvish anyway, so only Barut and Virik could. Actually, no. I think most of you know Elvish. And she looks over it briefly and says, "Well, the best way to get to Estana from here would be to get a ship from one of the Elven kingdoms."
I suppose that's what we'll do.
The docks at Aradia are much bigger. Thundra doesn't have its own docks, but you can find coastal towns that you'd be able to fetch a ship. If you do go to Aradia, though, and she like taps her finger on one of the names, and actually the name is Harium Eris. She says, "This man Harium, he's an ally to the Grey Fists. Technically not one of us. He never completed trials or has completed a contract. But if you're in Aradia, you might be best to seek him out and tell him to join us."
If we go to Aradia, then we will do that. I would rather
help.
not go to Aradia. I would rather go through Thundrel. I understand, but personal issues with Aradia. That being said, if it's where we must go, it's where we must go. This is more important.
You make your own choices in this task. I can't push these things on you. And she like sits quite heavily and is like, "I am not the leader of the Grey Fists. The leader of the Grey Fists is missing."
Then in that case, I suppose you are the leader of the Grey Fists.
No, I don't think I could do that. Fireflies would be more qualified than me. And there's a smoke wafting from the like open window to the tavern's kitchen, which makes you feel real hungry when you smell it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fireflies is barely qualified to cook dinner.
No, Fireflies is very qualified to cook dinner. Excuse you.
Sorry. What's the word? He's barely capable of cooking dinner.
Zotar's like shakes his head and says, "He might hear you."
And I'm sure he would agree. I don't think he has any designs on becoming the leader of the Grey Fists.
Someone needs to lead. And even if it's just in Hurl Giant's stead, there is no one better than you, Kinley. You know the business inside and out. And I'm not suggesting that you need to take on the role permanently. I'm just saying that you are the best suited to take it on while Hurl Giant is missing.
Well, I will at the very least try to make sure that everyone is safe.
Essentially, just don't burn the place down while we're gone, and I think you're doing fine.
Clearly that was a joke.
Yeah.
But that like hits a nerve in her, and she just stops like responding for a bit.
I'm gonna sit down. I'm not going anywhere yet, and I'm just gonna sit down with her, and I'm gonna apologize.
Yeah, this is one of those elven silences that sometimes lasts a minute. This lasts like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
In which case
After
the
the 10
humans probably, fodder around, like, where the fuck is an Estana? Like, and all three of you are like...
Bro's gonna, like, put his map over with them and just look at this for a little bit. You guys can figure out a path.
I'm going to be frantically searching the map for a path that doesn't involve spending many days over the open ocean.
Funny you say that. If you want to spend less time at sea, you would go to Aradia. Because that would be a more direct route.
I am worried about Bilgewake leaving from Aradia.
Yeah.
True.
That is one of Burwitt's main concerns. Actually, is the pirates of Bilgewake and being close out of port. But that's a whole separate issue. Burwitt is going to sit with Kinley for a moment and just apologize very much for the comment and ask about it as well, and just say I didn't mean to strike a nerve.
She shakes her head and says, I was never in the business of defending Slate Cove, but I was watching it, and I occasionally look onto the strings of fate, and I saw nothing befalling it.
And you cannot blame yourself for what fate shows you. You have no control over that.
I suppose it is the will of the gods.
And the gods have seen fit for you to survive, to do more. You have purpose. You may not know what it is yet, but you have purpose. Find that. I have my hunt. You have yours. You just need to find it.
Yes, with the hunting. Yes, not exactly how
Not
my brethren have always said our prayers, but yes.
It's not about the prayer. It's simply about the purpose in life. You know what you're good at. I know what I'm good at. I'm good at reading. I'm good at studying. Like you said, I'm here to keep these people alive. I'm doing my best with that. Our purpose is different now. Your purpose is different now.
Is there any aid you will need to cross the sea? We have never been in the business of owning ships. She leans in a bit and says, "These humans, they fear going too far out into the sea. They say a kraken will."
And if a kraken does, well, we are monster hunters. We'll deal with it.
She chuckles and says, "You have never seen a kraken."
Oh. I've seen many a sea monster on my time in the water, but always passing under, never attacking. I have high hopes that we will meet that same fate as I met on my original travel. But should we not, then we do what we can. We always do what we can.
Exactly.
So yes, we could use aid. What, I don't know, but I can always call you if I need to.
That's true.
And I will. I will stay in contact.
We won't do with losing you. Any of you. There's like all this whole conversation's in Elvish, and that's back to common all of a sudden. Although most of you speak Elvish.
Yeah.
Think we older?
I'm pretty sure we all speak.
Yeah, we all speak
I don't know if
Elvish.
Eleanor does.
I think I do.
I think
Yep,
That's
I do.
the one. That was the
Yeah.
one I was like 50-50 on. But yeah, no. Well, exactly. But they're an elf speak to humans. Can't possibly talk in Elvish.
not really. They might understand it, but they don't necessarily.
They don't
master it.
understand the message behind the words.
Exactly, and Burwitt probably feels the same way.
I mean, literally, Elvish is like a language of poetry, and that's very much true when speaking. There's a slightly dumbed down form of Elvish that
There's
elves speak
literal
to
meaning
humans in.
Elvish, and then there's poetry Elvish,
Yeah.
which is the actual Elvish. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
I actually think Virik would actually, when she like gestures the rest of us with that what she was saying, Virik will actually gesture to the name she just pointed out and say, "You've done a good job so far. You'll do fine."
Very well.
Maybe we should also have someone try and figure out where Hurl Giant went.
Yes, some part of me thinks he might still be in the town.
That was my assumption. I caught him coming back into the castle one night, late, well after hours, to the point where I was just up early, and he was coming in as though he hadn't been there all night. Did he have any other attachments?
He had a private life that he kept private, and I respected that.
Of course.
I know that humans are quite interested in putting their noses in other people's business, but we elves respect that. Of course, the humans are like, no, elves are the ones who don't respect privacy. What?
But I don't ask because I assume you would know that the details of it.
I just
rather-
know that he had a separate life during some evenings.
And was it in Slate Cove?
I don't know where else it could be. He could run fast, but not as fast as looks at Virik. Like, he could not get all the way to another town in a night and come back in time for supper.
Fair enough. Then, a trip back to Slate Cove is probably very dangerous now.
I would very much avoid Slate Cove, even if Hurl Giant is there. Who knows? The theory of this ring is that it is a portal to the plane elemental, and even the disruption of the gatestone created or summoned an elemental. The town is probably not a safe place to be, not even considering the souls of Shireen, who probably will be staying quite close to what they want to achieve.
Well, that complicates things, but you're right. We just shouldn't leave him. Not completely.
She kind of taps her finger on the table and says, "The spell you've been working on. Do they need to... You don't need to see them."
No, I do not. Would he answer?
I do not believe it is like opening a letter. I think it is more like having a letter handed to you. I was trying so hard to think of an analogy that didn't involve phones. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a cogged wheel turning in that.
Yeah. I know that they can answer. I don't know that he will, but... Okay. I should reach out. You're right.
There's a visible amount of doubt on Ryric's face at the idea that he'll reply.
Yeah. Well... I'm gonna cast Sending. I need 25 words.
Now, does
this
he
is
have
the
an
fun part.
intelligence of 1 or more? Very important question.
Very difficult question. Hurl Giant, yes, he definitely does. He can speak, which means it's at least 6 or higher, right? Technically speaking. Are you
We
looking up
find
his
out
character
Earl
sheet?
Giant
to
is just
determine-
like a pack of rats that have been weekend at Bernie's, Bernieing him this whole time.
No, we've already dealt
We
with a
we
pack
dealt
of
with
rats
that.
controlling a thing. We don't want it. It's not.
That was not good.
It was a whole separate thing. There's
Oh, the
one
Rat
shot.
King,
There's
right.
a whole
Yeah,
one
yeah.
shot.
That's
Took me a
exactly
second.
what
I was
he
like,
was.
what are you talking about? Yeah, different game.
Yeah, different game. Same world, different game.
Mm-hmm. So what are you guys doing while Will plans his message? You forgot
typing it out.
that sending always requires like a 20-minute planning process. It's like doing
All
a
good.
wish.
I'll be like 2 minutes.
I know. Like, what are you guys doing during this? Like I imagine you basically set up a little bit of a ritual to cast sending, so it's quite clear what you're doing.
I actually need to go pray and
Fair.
ask for guidance because I don't think I really want to leave this town, even though I know I'm going to fight for like a greater good. My heart wants to stay here and help these people, so I'm going to go and I'm going to pray and ask for guidance from my god. And while I do that, I imagine I go outside.
Oh,
Distance
yeah,
away.
exactly. This is a there are churches here, but also you could just there's like maybe pray at a little sending stone or just in the middle of nowhere. You know, it doesn't really matter.
And as I am praying and as I'm asking for guidance, I will meet my magical steed, which I feel like is a pretty good indicator.
Of
to
what
go.
the gods want. Yeah, that's
Yes.
so cool.
hmm
It's a great way
do
to-
you think it would be a white horse, or do you think it would be like an elk?
I liked the idea of a white horse because your god is a unicorn, right? Elk's
Yes.
kind of a little bit any other way. So I imagine just a
nice.
yeah, exactly, just a white, an unnaturally white and clean horse was what I was imagining.
Also, I have my message. I have had, but I wanted you guys to. It's this.
Excuse me for
Earl
the class.
Rayfist setting up in Lendir. Kindley keeping control of things for the moment. Can you make it out of Slate Cove?
There's a bit of a delay, but it's one of those things. You've been messing around with this spell because you're a
Nerd?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was trying to think of a better analogy, but I
No,
couldn't.
nerd. It's fine.
You've tried casting it to dead people. You can feel that it doesn't connect. You feel it connect. A string of magic between you. And then you, quite loudly in your ears, hear... Barut!
Good. Great.
I never thought I would hear from you again. No, I won't be leaving Slate Cove. I'm the one thing keeping these bastards out. And then it cuts off.
Oh, I'm gonna cast sending again. Hold on.
That's amazing.
Okay, that makes me happy. I'm casting it again.
And I imagine the people in the tavern realize that it worked because Barut would have flinched.
Yeah.
Because he's even louder when it's not no air he has to travel through.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Meanwhile,
6.
Eleanor like strides back with a freaking magic horse.
Beautiful horse.
It's the horse's name.
Yeah, what's the horse's name? Or I don't know. If
I would ask the horse what the horse's name.
because you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
talk to the horse.
No,
Now, I think it'd be one of those things. It wouldn't have a name because it's a spirit, right? And that's a very worldly thing. But it would be say if I require a title, I would be pleased with any words you would grant me.
We're working on it.
So yeah, that's what I
When
said
you
to
you reply back,
You only have 25 words. You're the only one keeping those bastards out, is where it ended.
me and my bond mate are fighting the things that come out of this dreaded portal. Is that 25 words yet?
Unfortunately, I cannot respond.
No, exactly.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, I love how much he was like, this is one
It's
more.
so careful. I love it. I'm going to, like, because that was still loud in my ear.
Yeah, less loud.
Less loud.
Hell Giant's one of
Okay.
those people who the greeting is very big.
Ruins! I love it. He's such a gem. I'm gonna like say that, and I'm gonna repeat what he said, and I'm gonna say, seems like he's still doing what he does best, fighting monsters
And apparently making love.
with his bond mate.
Kindle like blushes a little bit and clearly maybe had a suspicion and like taps on like the table a little subconsciously.
Yeah. And I unfortunately cannot cast sending again. It would take too much out of me, especially to get such a vivacious response back. It was quite a powerful feeling, so I need to rest before I can do that again. But I will keep in touch with yourself and with Hurl Giant and make sure that we maintain. If you'd prefer, I will contact him first before I contact you, so I can update on his situation as well.
Do what you think is best.
I will do so.
Tell me when you get that gate stone. You might need help on this side. We're going to need a way to keep them safely so that the others aren't in danger.
We also need to see if there might be a way of destroying them safely. Though
That is
that, I
also
imagine, is
possible.
much harder.
That is something I will have to reach out to Bombast as well. I'm sure if anyone would know how to do that, it would be him. He has research on
I
it
very
already.
much doubt that a creature that might be a dragon that spends its existence collecting magical artifacts would be quite offended by you suggesting to destroy the magical artifacts he is spending quite a lot of money trying to collect.
He also likes this world as it is, sir.
I think I have about a 50-50 shot of convincing him. And the reason would be, destroy one. They can't do anything else with the rest of them. Let him have the remaining 3.
You think too little of insane cults. They will do
Perhaps.
what they must. I can assure you of this.
Well, perhaps we need to deal with the cult first, then. I know it's not exactly in the purview of the Grey Fists, but this is not exactly just Grey Fist business anymore.
The issue with destroying a... They might be fanatic, but it is a religion. It is a faith. These things cannot be truly destroyed.
I'm aware.
You get rid of the current people now, although I will... They had powerful magics. I worry very much about what would happen to you if you do fight them at this state.
If we fight them now, we will die. That is why we must outsmart them.
This is not an enemy that you can win in a straight-up fight, running straight to them, she says, looking at Eleanor.
Burwood has like a big old grin on his face from that. Just like not even hiding how funny he finds
I mean,
that.
we can try that first and see how it goes.
That's last time we did that. She laughed at us and then disappeared. So
The last
will
time
also-
I tried to deal with this head on, I fell way too many feet, and Virik, you were paced.
true.
While
I'd
you
rather
are
not
out
face
on
this
your searchings, if you can find anything made of dimaterium, that might be very valuable. It is a metal that restricts magical abilities.
Burwood has made a vigorous note in his notebook, which, if you catch a glimpse in it, it is far less organized now than it was a month ago. A little bit more chaotic in his writings.
Anyway,
Yeah, on that note, Tobias is just gonna stand up and kind of like straighten up my belt. Be like, well, cultists, fanatics, or not, we will find these people and tear them from their faith, cut the roots, and destroy whatever is left of this cult so that they are not able to hurt any others in the future. And if and when that faith resurges, we will simply do it again. Because this cannot be allowed to stand in a world that values peace or any semblance of justice. And then I'm just gonna go start getting ready to leave.
and I think that's a great place to take a break as you start packing up to head on out. It's also a great time for you guys to start planning a route. See you
Right.
later.
Ooh.
Oof.
We'll be back in a few minutes.